Hi, I'm Jen Soska.
And I'm Sylvia Soska. And we're the Twisted Twins. And you're watching the Rue Morgue Podcast.
All right, well, first of all, I want to say that you two are two of the easiest subjects I've ever had the dubious pleasure to interrogate, because basically you just hit record, get the hell out of here, watch you explode. But this time it's even easier because all the questions have come courtesy of your fans via the Anchor Bay Canada Facebook page.
I'm really stoked about that. I was perving on some of the questions, so I might know the answers.
So you've cheated already.
I've already cheated, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
obviously.
When in
Right.
doubt, cheat. Yeah.
Well, we'll start things off hopefully on a juicy and contentious note with a question from Amanda Verheck from Toronto. And she asks, as siblings, have you ladies ever had difficulty working together?
All the time, because this is just a nightmare, a fucking nightmare over here.
No.
As people say, are you ever going to get, too high on yourself? And it's not going to possibly ever happen because we are so hard on each other. But it's in a loving kind of sibling, I want you to be a better person kind of way. She always challenges me to be better. When we work together, it's wonderful. I mean, she can be a little bit like a lioness nipping at me, and to the untrained eye, it can seem bitchy. But
Okay, so we do. There have been times that I've said, I hate you, I wish you were dead, I wish I absorbed you in the womb.
Of course.
But that never comes.
Sister stuff.
That never comes into set. That always comes in the apartment, and then you can hear everybody opening their doors and quietly just leaving, and I feel sorry that they have to live near us. But no, we have 30 years of in-jokes. We can talk with a look. I just, as much as I hate you sometimes, I love you that much. Most of the time I love you. A few times I just stare at her and I'm like, I just want to punch her in the face.
A long time ago, we made the agreement that work will always come first, each other will come second, and a distant third is, life, family, and all the other shit that comes first for most people. And in that way, whatever is best for the project is what we put our focus on. And if it's a sentimental thing, or if it's, I'd really rather do this, or I'm not feeling good, irrelevant. Irrelevant if it doesn't serve the career.
I remember she was so sick one day, and she was actually throwing up in the toilet, and I was like, well, you got an interview in 20 minutes, so put some Febreze on it and get over there. Yeah. And I think if we weren't sisters, that would have been mean. That might have been the end of the working relationship.
She doesn't even have to apologize anymore, because...
Okay, I have to interrupt, though.
Yeah.
You do realize we do have a lot of questions to get through. All right. All right. I was only joking about pressing record and leaving.
The answer is yes and no.
The last time you guys were here, it was for the Canadian Festival premiere of American Mary at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival. Since then, you've been all over the place with the movie, and your notoriety has gained exponentially.
The weird thing is, the other day, I woke up in Chicago, and I didn't know where I was, and thank God we always share a room, and I was like, Jen, where are we? And she goes, Chicago. I'm like, what are we doing here? She's like, C2E2. I'm like, that's comic books? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wear my Deadpool sweatshirt.
We stay very grounded, though. I mean, we take the piss out of each other constantly, as you can see. So there's no room for ego. Absolutely not. I'm such a fan of all these places. I'd be going as a fan if I could, and to be going as a guest, I'm still not sure why they want to have us. Yeah. But I'm happy.
So you're enjoying yourselves?
I'm having so much fun. I've never had so much fun in my life, and it's weird. I remember we were in Los Angeles for Monsterpalooza, and we met James Wan, and I never knew what he looked like. I just assumed he would be like the crazy Saw guy, and he's the sweetest little bubbly person I have ever met, and he had heard about the movie, and I was like, but you're the Saw guy, how do you know who I am at all?
You keep hitting on James Wan.
He's adorable.
I hope he doesn't hear this, because you just called him little.
No, he's adorable. He's just so sweet and nice, and it's funny because you think of a movie like Saw, and you expect someone scarier and ooh, gore, and he's like, I don't really like gore that much. I was like, oh, that's so interesting from you.
Here's a question from Alex Dermer from Perth, Australia.
Ah.
And it's for Sylvia. He says, why is your nickname Harvey?
That's a good question, Alex.
Jennifer.
I guess he doesn't care that your nickname's Bob, which
No.
sort of is a clue.
Maybe he
But-
knows. Maybe he just wants to hear you give the explanation. I'm kind of curious how you'll word it.
Well, being Canadian females, I found I was always so polite, and I don't want to speak my mind, but as a businesswoman, you do have to. So I decided to pick somebody who could be my power animal, who I don't want to exactly emulate, but when I need to get my bitch on, I think of Harvey Weinstein.
You just called him a bitch.
Well, it's
That's it.
There we go. Should we just go? I think it's...
Hey, no, but we're that much closer to our "you'll never work in this town again" moment.
I don't think he will. I think I hear he's a pussycat, but because there's the two of us and they're brothers, Bob and Harvey. So Jen's Bob and I'm Harvey. I'm more of the artisty type, and she's more of the businesswoman. And I hear that's how they are. Except I don't think Bob calls himself a businesswoman. Just not anymore.
Also, because we're Hungarian, to the untrained ear and eye, when we're discussing something passionately, it can sound like we're just going at it. But no, we just communicate passionately.
John Gilling from the UK asks, which filmmaker has influenced you the most?
Want to say it at the same time?
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez. We wouldn't be in film if it wasn't for Robert. We grew up watching El Mariachi and Desperado constantly, and we watched the 10-minute film schools. And the cool thing about Robert is not only does he make these really cool films, he shows you how he does it. He's not afraid to share his tricks. The eye gag in the 10-minute film school of Once Upon a Time in Mexico, we totally ripped that off in Dead Hooker, but he showed you how to do it. He showed you how to lay out the shots so you could have like a prosthetic and an actor. And there's no one quite like that. And I remember reading Rebel Without a Crew, and at the very end he said, you make the movie and I'll bring the popcorn. And I was like, all right, maybe I will make the movie, Robert. Maybe I will.
Christopher Wilkinson.
Ah.
You know him?
Yes,
Yeah,
we love
he's a
him.
sweetheart.
Okay, because he seems a bit odd based on this question.
Oh, you're just going to see how odd we are by our answer.
He
I'm
asks,
excited.
what is your favorite superhero mix, if you catch my meaning? What's his meaning?
His meaning is, if you know me, you know that on my cell phone, because I travel so much, there's something that I really enjoy, and I like to keep it on my phone easily for any time, and it's superhero porn. I have the biggest collection of superhero porn and memes and GIFs.
Thousands of images.
It started off as I'll just have 100 images, and I think there's about 500 on there right now.
If I may interject, she panicked because she didn't know she'd have the internet while traveling, so she's like, I better download all the good ones.
That's when it started. And before, the last thing I did in Vancouver is I checked and I was like, anything new? Nope, got that one, got that one, got that one. If I was to choose one, Christopher Wilkinson, and there's a lot that I have, I would say...
And these are two superheroes fucking each other.
And it's men, almost always men
almost
on
always
men.
two men.
It would be Thor and Loki, called Thorkey or Thunderfrost, because... if you Google it on Tumblr, it just keeps going and going and going. And technically, they're not brothers, so it's not gross. But, there's that sexual intensity between the two of them. And tell me it's not there in the films. I challenge you to tell me that it's not there. And they both are very aware of it on the internet, too. And when you see Hemsworth and Hiddleston in interviews, they play it up. Just because they know the fangirls are like, ah. Yeah.
Mine's Spidey Pool. That's Deadpool and Spider-Man, and it's gotten so big, Spidey Pool, that fans are actually writing into the new Deadpool series and talking about it. And they actually made a few Spidey Pool jokes because Spider-Man and Deadpool teamed up, and they had to ride each other's backs, and they were joking about kissing and making out, and all of us fangirls were like, ooh, maybe they will kiss.
They were riding each other's backs. Enough said. Good night, everybody.
Great comic book.
Dale Robert Swift from Madison, Wisconsin asks, what kind of music do you like?
When we obsess over soundtracks that we want to use, so we have a really weird taste of music. With American Mary, we were listening to a lot of Rammstein, a lot of Rod Stewart, and a lot of, things that inspired us for the film. Right now, we have a really good friend named Kevy Mental, and he's an independent artist, and he always does soundtracking for Dead Hooker and Mary. He's already working on a Bob soundtrack for us. And I just love listening to his stuff, because not only is it really good, I can be like, oh, that's my friend. He's fucking awesome.
Yeah, Kevy's band is called Fake Shark, Real Zombie, and it's after Zombie 2. That's for Shark versus Zombie scene. I just love his stuff. I also really like Joan Jett. I like Johnny Cash. I don't know. I like Johnny almost Cash. Everything but country. And then again, I like Big and Rich. So.
Oh, who doesn't love Big and Rich?
Yeah.
Fuck you if you don't like Big and
I
Rich.
didn't know somebody from Wisconsin knew us. That's exciting.
Mike and Ike. Do you guys know who these
I
guys are?
love Mike
What
and
are they,
Ike.
comedians or something?
They're comedians that have their own podcast. They're stoner comedians.
All right.
So from the West Coast, they're our bag.
Well, that explains the question then. We want to know if you've ever punched a 5-year-old.
Oh, I've wanted to.
No, I haven't.
But, I have that little voice that says, oh, your lawyer would be so angry at you. And, my lawyer's really nice. He doesn't need to take that on as well, on top of everything else.
I think if I start punching things, I would never stop. So in my head, I'm like, it's like in your situation, when I want to punch you in the face, I think, probably shouldn't.
Again with the sibling violence. What the hell?
I just want to be honest with you. Like, most of the time I will tell you, like, because she gets happier when I'm really moody, and I'm like, I want to just punch you in the face right now, so if you could shut the fuck up.
Oh, you're just a breath of fresh air to live with. Parents I want to punch in the face more than the 5-year-olds, because the 5-year-olds is just a little fucking 5-year-old. It doesn't even know what it's doing. But it's the parent that should be rearing its young to be, diplomatic.
Yeah.
And a worthy little member of society.
So punch the parents.
Punch the parents. Yeah, absolutely.
Donna Antonijevic says, real talk. What's the inspo behind this film? I find it interesting that she prefaces this with real talk, like everything else is just irrelevant nonsense.
Let's get down to it.
Yeah, let's get down to it. What's the inspo? I guess inspo constitutes real talk from Donna's point of view, so you can translate that. What's the inspo behind this film? And in a related question, Tim Collins from Massachusetts asks, what inspires you guys to come up with such delightfully demented stories?
Oh, that's nice. I think because we're fucked up in the head.
Yeah, probably that.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with the inspo for Mary?
I'll start with the inspo. I was online, and I had run upon an April Fool's prank that at the time I didn't know it was April Fool's. And
some people, like me, I just look at porn online, but she likes to find weird shit online.
Because I like practical effects, and then I send it to all my practical effects buddies, like, can we make this? And they're just like, oh, why do you send this to me? Like, where do you find this? Anyway, so it was an article with 2 identical twins, and what they had done is one sawed off his arm and took it off and had it amputated onto his breastplate, and then he had his ring finger removed and put onto his other brother's ring finger, and so one ended up with 1 arm, an elongated finger, and another one ended up with 3 arms, and there was a photo essay, and because they're genetically identical, the limbs didn't reject, and what really creeped me out was a love letter that accompanied it that said you have to be an identical twin to understand why we would want to do this, and it scared the shit out of me. And my mom always taught me that if something scares you, it's because you're not educated. So educate yourself and you won't be scared anymore. So Jen and I became obsessed with body modification. We would go on the message boards. We would go on BME. We would pretend that we had procedures. We pretended we wanted procedures. We had so many different little things, and we'd be messaging people all the time. And I never thought it would actually be a movie until later when we had to have a script and body mod was just in the back of my head. I was like, that's really cool. We should put that into something. So that's my inspo on that, real talk.
Also, the body mod community, it has such a negative connotation associated with it, and we really wanted to, we've always been picked on and bullied growing up, so we kind of drift towards the other people that are picked on and misunderstood, and the body mod community is just one of the most misunderstood communities in the world, and we wanted to have a fair representation of them in a film. For a lot of people, it would be their first real representation of the body mod community, because there's the knee-jerk reaction, and it's like, oh, genital modification, ew, gross, yuck, and it's like, not you, gross, yuck, maybe just not for you. I mean, I look at breast implants and I'm like, you gross, yuck, you just ruined your nice tits. Because they're nice at every size, right?
Yeah, but you know, there's different reasons for it. I don't think anybody should be judged on what they're doing. I mean, they're not hurting anyone. As long as you're trying to make yourself happy and not trying to fit into somebody else's cookie cutter image of what you should be, fuck it. Do it.
Yeah. As far as other inspiration goes for us, it's anything that actually scares us or gets under our skin. Like we did a short film called Bad Girls, and Sylv had found in the news this horrible situation where this elderly woman that was living alone had someone break into her house and beat her, and she was in the hospital, and they had the photos leaked online, and it was just this horrible fucking story. And Sylv's like, let's do that in a short film. And the first thing I said is, you're going to really upset people with that. And she says, well, does that mean you don't want to do it? And I was like, no, I'm just telling you that when everybody's upset, I told you that they're going to be upset. I'll absolutely do it. I thought it was a great idea. So it comes from real life stuff, and it comes from our own personal experiences as well.
Yeah, I think the world is filled with horrible things, and I just want to hold people's hand and walk around and look at it all.
This question is from Michael Dark, one of the podcast's most loyal listeners.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, Michael.
He says, I participate in body suspension, will be going up again in July, and my wife will be doing her first also in July. Would you ever suspend? And if so, would you like to join us to suspend some time? Huge fans of yours and, of course, Rue Morgue.
Where are they?
I'm not completely sure, but I've seen his pictures, and it's true. He does go up on the hooks. It's really nasty. So explain to us what body suspension is, and is it something you guys would be interested in doing? And if so, with Michael?
I would totally do that with Michael. I have to promise.
And his wife.
Yeah, I promised Russ Fox, our flesh artist consultant from American Married, that my first suspension would be with him. And he gave me a body modification hook until my balls drop, and I actually do it. What it is, it's like this really hardcore kind of meditation where you put yourself in a very uncomfortable situation, and it's almost like you transcend. I've heard people like speak in tongues, all sorts of weird stuff.
I've heard people can orgasm doing it.
Yeah, I saw this documentary, and this girl like totally got off, and there's just so many different like responses. I mean, it's up to the individual, and yeah, you put hooks in your back. I would want to do a normal vertical one where you have about 4 in your back and then you pull up, because I hear that one's less hard, but I hear also in your knees is amazing. The only thing, believe it or not, is not the hooks or hanging that's putting me off. It's the farting, and let me explain. When you do that, air gets into the open wound, and then you have to blood fart it out, and anything that's even the reason why I'll avoid Mexican food, because women don't fart. I don't want that to happen to me, but I will eventually do it. I'm 30. I'm wiser now. I'm going to be mature about my blood farts.
I love suspensions. I think they're beautiful, but I'm not claustrophobic, but if I want to leave somewhere or get out of somewhere, I want to be able to leave and get out immediately. I've had situations where I've been in conventions, and it's just so packed that you can't move at all, and people are touching you and grabbing you and shoving into you and just grabbing you for a picture, and it's just such an uncomfortable situation.
What's wrong with that, Jen?
I don't like to be touched unless I'm the one welcoming it, which is funny because I go over to everyone I meet and just give them a big old hug, but I don't like to be grabbed or touched when
So you like to go into other people's bubbles, but you don't want people to go into your bubble.
I invite them into my bubble in a nice way, but my fear would be that I'd be up there and then I'd have a fucking freak out of all freakouts and lose all credibility. I'd like to do it, but emotionally right now, I know I'd just have a little fucking hissy fit and be like, down now.
Watch me do it first.
If you do it, I'll do it out of spite.
All right, so we will. We definitely will.
Not to mention the small matter of the 2-inch wide hooks through your flesh.
You think does that put you off? I think that's fascinating. I mean, pain is inevitable.
Like, you're worried about all these incidental things, but that's like kind of the focal point, I think, of the experience.
See, I don't think that would bother me as much. I love piercings. I remember when I got my navel pierced, I was like, what can I get pierced next? And everyone was like, chill out, don't go crazy. It's like tattooing. You kind of get addicted to it. It's a rush.
The piercing itself is like the quickest part. When it's actually in there, I haven't noticed that there's any real pain or sensation, but again, I haven't hung from my skin just yet, so part 3 we'll have to let you know how that goes.
Yeah, you have to get used to the pulling, but again.
The fuck do you know?
Because I saw Harley do it. I got to be there for a suspension. But, you know, the pain is there to remind you that you're alive, right?